Welcome to Headline to Heartline. A quiet doorway deserves gentle hands, especially when it bears Virginia's name. Start with these words that I'm mentioning here, because this is how I feel. Don't protect the network behind Andrew, the system that keeps him insulated and safe. Yes, he is responsible, and money given after the fact may help institutions, but it does not undo what was done. Virginia was abused. His donations do not change her pain and trauma. Virginia is gone. His donations do not bring her back to life. This episode honors Virginia Giuffre as a strong woman and a strong person who was a victim of abuse, who passed this year, and who left a legacy that is about to be released. When I first read about Virginia Giuffre's death by suicide, it hurt my heart deeply. If you or someone you love is struggling, in the United States you can dial 988 for support. Today's story is not a defense brief for anyone. It is about Virginia, her life, her work, and the accountability that her voice demanded. Here is who she was in human terms. Virginia Louise Roberts was born in 1983 in Sacramento and grew up in Florida. As a teenager, she experienced exploitation and instability long before she met Jeffrey Epstein. She found a foothold as a spa attendant at Mar-a-Lago, a private club in Palm Beach, where, at 16, she says Ghislaine Maxwell approached her with a job opportunity. That opportunity led her into Epstein's world, where, by her account, the so-called massages were a cover for trafficking and abuse. She describes the early 2000s as years when adults with wealth and access moved her through mansions, jets, and private islands as if she were a thing to be scheduled. I learned how quickly a life can be treated like an appointment, she says in spirit through these pages. What did Virginia do with that harm? She turned toward advocacy. She married in 2002 and became a mother of 3, later relocating to Australia. In time, she found her public voice, speaking to journalists, testifying, and founding a survivor-led nonprofit, SOAR, Speak Out, Act, Reclaim, to help others name what happened to them and find services without shame. She stood in front of cameras when few were willing, knowing that every interview would reopen old wounds. She kept going anyway. I wanted the next girl to have a different map, she said of her decision to speak out. The abuse shaped everything. It shaped how she trusted, how she parented, how she slept. It showed up in the body, panic, hypervigilance, the way a sudden noise could yank her back in time. It showed up in the calendar, anniversaries of flights, faces, rooms. It showed up in the mirror, guilt for things that were never her fault. And still, she built a life that included love for her children, friendships, and a purpose broader than herself. The impact was lifelong, but so was her determination. Survival is not a straight line, is a sentence I can hear her writing between the lines. Because many of you ask about the facts that matter now. Virginia completed a memoir with journalist Amy Wallace before she died. Nobody's Girl, a memoir of surviving abuse and fighting for justice, is scheduled for release on October 21, 2025, from Alfred A. Knopf. In it, she revisits how grooming works in plain language. An adult gaining a teenager's trust, isolating her, rewarding compliance, punishing resistance, and teaching her to doubt her own senses. She details encounters she says involved powerful men, including Britain's Prince Andrew. Andrew denies wrongdoing. In 2022, he settled Virginia's civil lawsuit for a substantial sum and pledged a donation supporting survivors. This year, amid renewed scrutiny as her book nears publication, he relinquished the use of key royal titles and honors. I am not here to polish his image. Settlements and donations may strengthen services for others, but they do not erase a survivor's pain. They do not reverse time, and they do not return Virginia to her family. If careful storytelling like this matters to you, please like and subscribe so more people can find it. What should we understand about accountability? First, language. Calling a teenager a masseuse or saying she consented to men decades older weaponizes vocabulary against the young. Consent requires freedom and informed choice. Grooming strips both away. Second, systems. The network that elevated and protected the powerful, social calendars, private security, chartered flights, and the silence of bystanders, made exploitation look normal. We should not pretend that network disappeared just because a few names faced consequences. Third impact. Money paid years later cannot repair a nervous system, cannot give back teenage years, and cannot tuck children into bed when grief breaks the room in two. A check is not a time machine, is the truth at the center of this story. The book also traces the moments that etched themselves into public memory. The photograph taken in 2001, the trips, the nights when she says the powerful treated access to her body as their birthright. For those who wonder whether speaking up makes any difference, look at the trail behind Virginia's voice. Investigations reopened, survivors recognized, a culture forced to say the word trafficking out loud instead of pretending it was gossip. She did not live to see all that her words will do, but she moved the floor under all of us. I wanted to be believed enough that the next girl wouldn't have to prove every bruise, she once said in interviews and statements that echoed for years. I also want to tell you what this is not. This is not the place for reputational rehab. This is not the place for the on the other hand that so often ends up being a hand over a survivor's mouth. A civil settlement without admission of liability is a legal instrument, not a moral absolution. Stepping back from titles is a public relations remedy, not justice. Announcing donations is commendable, but it is not repair. Accountability is measured by truth told, harm acknowledged, and structures changed so that the next teenager is safe. Until those conditions are met, we will not call the story finished. And I want to say something plainly to anyone listening who carries their own history. You deserved safety then. You deserve healing now, and you deserve a world that treats your voice as evidence of your humanity, not a threat to someone's comfort. If you need help, you can dial 988 in the United States. If you are somewhere else, please look up your local crisis line or talk to a trusted clinician. You are not a headline, you are a life, are the words I wish I could place in your hands. Today we honored Virginia, a daughter, sister, mother, advocate, and writer whose pages will soon find their way into our homes. She told the hard things so others might be spared it. She turned a locked room into a corridor with light. Our task is to keep walking and to keep naming what we see, including the networks that prefer to be unnamed. Thank you for spending this time with me. Please subscribe to the channel and like the video, and share this episode with someone who needs a steady voice tonight. Until next time, we will meet again at that quiet doorway, and we will keep it open.